بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I'll have my speech in Arabic, so if you want to use your headset, please. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، سعادة الأمين العام للشؤون الاقتصادية والاجتماعية للأمم المتحدة، سعادة رئيس المجلس الاقتصادي والاجتماعي والمندوب الدائم لجمهورية التشيك لدى الأمم المتحدة، أصحاب السعادة السفراء ومندوبي الدول والوكالات الأممية والإقليمية، السيدات والسادة الحضور الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني في البداية أن أنقل إليكم تحيات حضرة صاحب السمو الشيخ تميم بن حمد آل ثاني أمير دولة قطر حفظه الله، ونرحب بكم جميعا في قطر المجد. كما نقدر عاليا الجهود التي بذلتها إدارة الشؤون الاقتصادية والاجتماعية للأمم المتحدة في التعاون مع وزارة الخارجية للتحضير لهذا المؤتمر الذي تحتضنه دوحة الجميع، ونتطلع لمناقشات مثمرة على مدى هذين اليومين من خلال الجلسات والمحاور العديدة التي ستتناول عدداً من البنود الهامة بشكل يتماشى مع ما تشكله خطة التنمية المستدامة لعام 2030 وأهدافها وغاياتها في إطار عالمي على قدر كبير من الاتساع، وكلنا ثقة بأن مداولاتنا ستشكل فرصة هامة للدفع قدما نحو أهدافها المشتركة. أصحاب السعادة، تأتي استضافة دولة قطر لهذا المؤتمر من حرصنا الدائم بأن نكون وكعادتنا حاضرين للعمل مع الشركاء في المجموعة الدولية لتحقيق الأهداف التي تناشدها الأمم المتحدة، وكذلك انطلاقا من إيماننا بأهمية التعاون الدولي للمضي قدما بتنفيذ خطة التنمية المستدامة لعام 2030، خاصة وأن نجاح تنفيذ هذه الخطة يعتمد بشكل رئيسي على تعبئة الموارد على الصعيد الوطني والدولي والاستخدام الفعال لهذه الإمكانات. وضمن هذا التوجه كانت استضافة الدوحة في العام 2008 لمؤتمر المتابعة الدولي لتمويل التنمية المعني باستعراض تنفيذ توافق آراء مونتري. أصحاب السعادة، السيدات والسادة، نجتمع اليوم في وقت تتعرض فيه جهود تحقيق التنمية المستدامة للعديد من التحديات التي تقوض قدرة البلدان في إحراز تقدم على الصعيد التنموي، ومن تلك التحديات على سبيل المثال لا الحصر الفقر المدقع وشح الموارد والجوع والبطالة وتغير المناخ وتواتر الكوارث الطبيعية والتشريد القسري والتطرف العنيف وتصاعد النزاعات. وعلى الرغم مما تشكله هذه التحديات من مصدر قلق، إلا أننا على ثقة أن التعاون الدولي كفيل باستثمار الفرص الزاخرة لنخطوه خطوة أخرى في مسعانا المشترك لتنفيذ أهداف هذه الخطة الطموحة وزيادة تعزيز إطار تمويل التنمية وكفالة عدم تخلف أحد عن الركب، مع مراعاة اختلاف الظروف والقدرات والاحتياجات ومستويات التنمية واحترام السياسات والأولويات الوطنية للبلدان. ولا يمكن أن نختلف بأن أجندة تمويل التموين تجسد رغبة المجتمع الدولي الصادقة في مساعدة الدول النامية والأقل نمواً والمغلقة والغير ساحلية والدول الجزرية الصغيرة على تحقيق التنمية المستدامة، وبالأخص من خلال تفعيل الهدف الإنمائي 17 المعني بالشراكة من أجل التنمية، وهو ما تجسده في مسيرة 15 عاماً من المفاوضات البين حكوماتية، وتمثلت في توافق آراء مونتريه المكسيك عام 2002 وإعلان الدوحة لتمويل التنمية في عام 2008 والمتمخض عنه الاجتماع الوزاري الذي احتضنته الدوحة للخروج بخطة عمل طموحة تجسد الإدارة السياسية نحو تحقيق الأهداف الإنمائية الدولية، وإعلان أديس أبابا عام 2015 في إثيوبيا. كما نشدد بهذا الصدد على أهمية الوفاء بالالتزامات التي تعهدت بها الدول الأعضاء، وبالأخص تلك متقدمة النمو حيال هذه الخطة، ورصد وتقييم التقدم المحرز في تنفيذ التعهدات الدولية المتفق عليها. السيدات والسادة الحضور الكرام، إننا ننظر إلى عملية التنمية كمنهج تشاركي يحترم كافة حقوق الإنسان، لما يمثله موضوع التنمية الشاملة والمستدامة من حيز هام على قمة اهتمامنا، ويرتكز على جهود مشتركة بين كافة مكونات المجتمع. ولقد حددت رؤية قطر الوطنية 2030 الأهداف الاقتصادية والاجتماعية والبشرية والبيئية الرئيسية، ووضعت التنمية في صلب أولوياتها. ففي دولة قطر تم إدماج خطة التنمية المستدامة لعام 2030 في استراتيجية التنمية الوطنية الثانية 2017-2022. وفي إطار جهودنا للإيفاء بالتزاماتنا بتنفيذ خطة التنمية المستدامة لعام 2030، قدمت دولة قطر الاستعراض الوطني الطوعي خلال المنتدى السياسي الرفيع المستوى المعني بالتنمية المستدامة لعام 2017، الذي أصفى صورة شفافة على الجهود التنموية التي تبذلها الدولة ودورها الفعال على الصعيد الدولي. ونتطلع في العام المقبل أيضاً لتقديم استعراض وطني طوعي يسلط المزيد من الضوء على الموائمة بين أولوياتنا الوطنية وأهداف خطة التنمية المستدامة لعام 2030. أصحاب السعادة، انطلاقاً من مسؤولياتنا والتزامنا بتعزيز الشفافية وشراكتنا الإقليمية والدولية، تواصل دولة قطر القيام بدور بارز ومتزايد الأهمية في تقديم المساعدات التنموية والإغاثية للعديد من دول العالم التي تواجه أزمات اقتصادية وإنسانية وكوارث طبيعية، إضافة إلى المساعدات الإنمائية الرسمية التي تقدمها دولة قطر طواعية. ووفقا لذلك قدمت دولة قطر المساعدات الدولية للدول الصديقة بين 13 قطاعاً لمختلف المبادرات الإنسانية والتنموية في شتى أنحاء العالم، حيث لاحظ أن الدعم الحكومي للمساعدات يصل إلى أكثر من 70% من نسبة المساعدات الخارجية مقارنة بالمساعدات الغير حكومية، بما يشير أن الإرادة السياسية نحو الوفاء بتعهدات دولة قطر الخارجية اتساقاً مع دورها كعضو مسؤول في المجتمع الدولي. بينما جاء ما نسبته 30% من قيمة الدعم الخارجي كمساهمات قدمتها المنظمات والجمعيات الخيرية والإنسانية والمؤسسات المانحة القطرية، التي كثيراً ما تعمل على إيصال شتى أنواع المساعدات لمستحقيها وفق أفضل المعايير الدولية العالمية، وبالشراكة مع الوكالات الأممية المتخصصة والمؤسسات الإقليمية ودون الإقليمية والجهات النظيرة من مختلف أنحاء العالم. ويتضح أن دولة قطر قد تمكنت خلال السنوات الماضية من توسيع مساعداتها الخارجية جغرافياً وقطاعياً، حيث أخذت هذه المساعدات عدة أشكال، منها مساهمات وهبات أو منح مادية أو عينية أو فنية أو قروض ميسرة، غالباً ما يتم شطبها. كما شملت الجهود القطرية كذلك دعم لمشاريع وبرامج إنسانية وتنموية، وقد ركزت دولة قطر على قطاع التعليم في مقدمة القطاعات المتلقية للمساعدات من إجمالي المساعدات التنموية تفعيلاً للهدف الإنمائي الرابع. وكان النصيب الأكبر في المجال الإنساني قطاع الإغاثة، والذي شهد تضاعفاً ملحوظاً اعتباراً من بداية العقد الثاني من الألفية في ظل الكوارث الطبيعية وتلك الكوارث التي من صنع البشر. والجدير بالذكر أن نسبة المساعدات المقدمة من دولة قطر قد تجاوزت نسبة المساعدات الإنمائية الرسمية ODA والمقررة على الدول الشمال متقدمة النمو، حيث ناهزت المساعدات القطرية الخارجية حكومية وغير حكومية 2 مليار دولار سنويا بالمتوسط، علما بأن دولة قطر غير ملزمة قانونيا بسداد تلك النسبة، إنما تقوم بالوفاء بها انطلاقا من إيماننا بأهمية دعم أجندة التعاون فيما بين بلدان الجنوب والتعاون الثلاثي وأجندة تمويل البنية وأجندة تمويل التنمية، مما ينعكس إيجابا على تحقيق الأمن والسلم الدوليين وحقوق الإنسان والتنمية للجميع، تحقيقا لمجتمعات مسالمة متكاملة لا يهمش فيها أحد، وقائمة على مؤسسات قوية تستند للمساءلة والكفاءة، وأكثر صمودا على التصدي لآفة التطرف وخطر الإرهاب وفقا للهدفين الإنمائيين 11 و16، واللذان هما محور اهتمام لسياسة دولة قطر الإنمائية. أصحاب السعادة، السيدات والسادة، نتطلع أن يكون اجتماعنا اليوم فرصة لتبادل أفضل الممارسات والخبرات حول أكثر وسائل التنفيذ فعالية للمضي قدما بخطة التنمية المستدامة لعام 2030، وأننا على ثقة بأن الجهود التي نبذلها كمجتمع دولي سيكون لها أثر إيجابي في طريقة تعاطينا مع التحديات الملحة التي تعترض تمويل التنمية. ونحن إذ نواصل جهودنا المشتركة في مسيرة تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة، نؤكد بأننا في دولة قطر سنواصل بذل جهودنا كشريك فعال في الأسرة الدولية بالرغم من التحديات الإقليمية والعالمية من أجل تحقيق الأهداف المشتركة التي ننشدها والتصدي للتحديات في كافة المجالات ذات الاهتمام المشترك وفقاً لأهداف ومبادئ ميثاق الأمم المتحدة. السيدات والسادة، ستظل الدوحة منبراً وعنوانه التعاون بين جميع الدول والأطراف المؤمنة بأهمية العمل المشترك لمواجهة التحديات التي تواجهنا وتتأثر بها الأسرة الدولية كافة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Please.
Your Excellency, Mr. Al-Mahdi, Minister of Finance of the State of Qatar, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, I'd like to warmly welcome all of you to this high-level conference on financing for development and the means for implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I'd also like to thank the government of the State of Qatar for hosting this timely and important conference. Qatar has shown unwavering commitment to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. 9 years ago, the second International Conference on Financing for Development took place here in Doha. Held at the height of the global economic and financial crisis, Doha Conference reunited the international community around the financing for development agenda despite the difficult circumstances. Since the Doha Conference, the development landscape has undergone major transformation. Nevertheless, the spirit of respect and cooperation, a legacy of Doha, remains with us. It is in the same spirit that in 2015, the international community came together in Addis Ababa, New York, and Paris towards milestone agreements. Meeting here in Doha thus cannot be more fitting. It reminds us of where we came from and where we are going. It revives the spirit of respect and cooperation, which is needed more than ever in view of the challenging global environment. Ladies and gentlemen, despite an improved global economic outlook, multiple vulnerabilities and policy uncertainties pose major challenges to sustain recovery of the world economy. Global trade is unlikely to serve as a broad stimulus for growth, given weak global demand and setbacks in multilateral trade negotiations. Commodity prices have mildly recovered, but their positive effects on many developing countries have been cancelled out by domestic and regional pressures, especially in Africa. Developing and transition economies have experienced negative capital flows since 2014. Capital flows remain volatile while creating microeconomic risks, especially in developing countries. In addition, large-scale humanitarian crises and natural disasters are eroding hard-earned progress in many regions and pushing millions of people back into poverty. At the same time, there are encouraging signs of progress. For example, global energy-related carbon dioxide emissions have stayed flat since 2013, even as the global economy continued to grow and as large-scale infrastructure was built in emerging economies around the world. Human life expectancy has continued to increase, global health has improved, and universal primary education has been achieved in most parts of the world. However, progress has been highly uneven, with rising inequality in many parts of the world. Billions remain excluded from benefits of the progress. At the same time, biodiversity continues to decrease at the rates of 100 to 1,000 times the pre-human levels. Humans impact more than half of the world's terrestrial ecosystems and almost half of the oceans. In fact, humanity claims an unprecedented 24% of the global terrestrial net primary protection. Humanity also suffers from local and regional freshwater shortage and water stress over more than 1/3 of the planet. Looking at this complex global picture, we need to appreciate the strong interlinkages. Local issues can quickly become global challenges, and progress in one area may well be at the expense of future generations or of progress in other areas. Global challenges must be addressed through global cooperation. The 2030 Agenda and the Addis Ababa Agenda provide a compass for our way forward. 2 years after their adoption, the implementation of these global frameworks is on sure footing, and thanks to strong buy-in to the global follow-up review process under the auspices of the United Nations. The High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development has become the centerpiece of the global follow-up to and review of the progress towards implementation of the SDGs. It broadened the scope of SDG review by providing space for various communities, going beyond sectoral boundaries and focusing on coherence, interlinkages, and transformative actions. At its 2017 session, held last July, 43 national voluntary reviews facilitated the sharing of experiences, including successes, challenges, and the lessons learned, with a view to accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Another conclusion from this review, High-Level Political Forum, was to succeed, we need to have a complete picture of what is needed for SDG implementation. This includes science, evidence-based policies, interlinkages with other SDGs, and processes and trade-offs. The ECOSOC Forum on Financing for Development follow-up has established itself as a global platform to discuss progress and the challenges in the implementation of the FFD outcomes based on national experiences. It has galvanized unprecedented high-level engagement in the FFD process and advanced the cooperation between the UN and the Bretton Woods institutions. The 2017 FFD Forum sent a strong signal that the international community remains deeply committed to multilateralism and the global partnership for sustainable development. The rich discussions highlighted the urgency of changing the current growth trajectory and strengthening international cooperation to increase investment in sustainable development. The outcome of 2017 Forum reaffirmed key elements of the Addis Agenda and contains new commitments on policies and actions to ensure the full and timely delivery of the means of implementation of the SDGs. It gained universal support from member states and was considered exemplary in intergovernmental negotiations. The report of the Interagency Task Force on Financing for Development provided the major substantive input to the forum and its outcome document. The task force is a model of cooperation comprising more than 50 organizations from the UN system and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, despite progress, if we remain at the current pace, we will not be able to meet our global goals by 2030. Getting the financing right is the key to changing this trajectory. We need to strengthen global public and private long-term investments into the implementation of the SDGs, especially into critical infrastructure. Public finance is essential to providing public goods, increasing equity, and supporting macroeconomic stability. National tax systems need to be strengthened, and international tax cooperation needs to be stepped up. We must get the regulatory frameworks and incentives right to unleash the potential of private investment in sustainable development. I see reorienting financial regulation and policy making towards broader aims, such as access to long-term finance, as a core competency of the United Nations. Because of our stewardship of the Universal Agreements on Sustainable Development, it is our role to bring an integrated perspective to all policymaking fora. To ensure that no one is left behind, we must establish policies that reduce inequality and are inclusive of all vulnerable groups. We must also pay attention to the special situations and the needs of the most vulnerable countries. We should not forget the critical role of international development cooperation. ODA commitments need to be fulfilled urgently. Climate finance must be stepped up. DESA, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, will continue to lead global efforts to advance financing for development and to support member states in implementing the Addis Agenda. Looking ahead, the year 2018 offers important opportunities to move the agenda forward. In February 2018, the Interagency Platform for Collaboration on Tax, comprising the IMF, OECD, UN, and the World Bank, will hold its first global conference at UN headquarters on the theme Taxation and Sustainable Development Goals. In April, the third Financing for Development Forum will review progress and the challenges in all action areas of the Addis Agenda. We will engage many ministers and strengthen the participation of the private sector. On the eve of the forum, DESA will organize the SDG Investment Fair to promote interaction between the high-level government officials and the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the primary responsibility for the implementation of both the 2030 Agenda and the Addis Agenda lies with the national governments. By promoting the dialogue among national policy makers and constituencies, this conference we are having in Doha will facilitate experience sharing among them and increase their understanding of important policy and process development at a global level. As the first joint preparatory event for the 2018 Financing for Development Forum and the 2018 High-Level Political Forum. This conference also aims to strengthen the coherence and coordination of the follow-up to FFD outcomes and the means of implementation of the 2030 Agenda. I therefore urge all of you to utilize this conference at this early stage to build momentum for these important meetings next year. I wish to end by thanking once again the government of the state of Qatar for its generous support and hospitality extended to all of us. I wish you have a fruitful and constructive discussions. I want to thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. Minister, let me assume the moderator of the rest of the proceedings of this opening. Now, may I have the honor to invite His Excellency Ambassador Muhammad Aminov, Permanent Representative of Tajikistan to the United Nations, the Vice President of ACSOC, to deliver his remarks on behalf of the President of ACSOC. Mr. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Minister Muraihi, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to address this high-level conference. On behalf of the Bureau of ECOSOC, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the State of Qatar for hosting this timely event on a topic that is in the heart of the ECOSOC agenda. Doha is a relevant place to discuss financing for sustainable development. Doha witnessed many milestones in the history of global governance. The Doha Development Round of WTO began here. Doha was also the host of Second International Conference on Financing for Development and the 18th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Doha also is a city which attracts creativity. This high-level conference itself is an innovation in the global follow-up to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. It is the first joint preparatory meeting for high-level political forum on sustainable development and the ECOSOC Forum on Financing for Development follow-up, the main intergovernmental forum for follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda and Addis Agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the world of rapid transformation and great uncertainty. Governments are faced with increasingly complex and competing challenges in pursuing national development priorities. Their pursuits of long-term development are frequently disrupted by short-term crises or emerging events. ECOSOC advocates for a systematic approach and long-term vision in tackling imminent challenges. It helps keep sustainable development on top government's agenda. As home to HLPF and the FFD Forum, the Council brings together policymakers across sectorial boundaries under a common objective. However, the convening power of the Council cannot make real impact without changing policy and financing patterns at all levels. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, financing for development has long been a concern of the Council. 20 years ago, the Council initiated interaction with the Bretton Woods institutions with a view to finding solutions for systematic challenges. Such interaction was later institutionalized and became the annual special high-level meeting with a broader range of institutions. Nevertheless, the disconnect between policy at global level and action at national level remains a major challenge to deliver on global outcomes. The FFD Forum, established by Addis Agenda, has made capability to bridge this gap. The 2030 FFD Forum was an excellent illustration. The forum brought together a large number of ministers and high-level officials, representing development, finance, investment, and tax authorities from both developing and developing countries. The ministerial roundtable enabled focused dialogue at strategic and political level, anchored at national experience. The broad-based participation of governments brought the Council in sync with the major trends in reality on the ground. We have also seen unprecedented engagement of the Bretton Woods institutions, as well as other international financial and trade institutions. These are contributed to the constructive environment towards a successful outcome of the forum. It's my hope that we keep the momentum moving forward and we prepare for the 2018 FFD Forum. I believe this high-level conference will help us achieve just that. Dear colleagues, financing is a means to an end. Achieving sustainable development is our ultimate goal. The 2030 Agenda calls upon countries to look at the sustainable development holistically, step away from the siloed thematic approach and focus on interlinkages in the agenda which can enhance the impact of policy innovations. Means of implementation is an integral part of this integrated picture. At the global level, such interlinkage should be reinforced through both the HLPF and the FFD Forum. The upcoming HLPF offers an excellent opportunity to do so. Central for the HLPF is the voluntary national review process, a mechanism for member states to report on the progress of implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Countries will participate in voluntary national reviews at 2018 HLPF. Preparations are underway. I encourage participating countries to pay adequate attention to means of implementation and the preparations. A hallmark of VNR process has been the inclusive nature of dialogues, welcoming representatives of civil society, the private sector, local governments, and academia to share experience and lessons learned. We have continued our efforts to enhance such participations next year. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Vice Presidents of ECOSOC, many of whom are in attendance, for their dedication to promoting the implementation of 2030 Agenda in the Addis Ababa and the ECOSOC Bureau. Their participation over the next 2 days will be an important link between the conference and the Bureau's upcoming work. I also wish to thank Mr. Liu Zhimin, the Undersecretary General for Economic and Social Affairs, and his team for their excellent support. The way this meeting was supported by UNDESA demonstrates the commitment of the Department for fostering coherency in serving member states. It is my sincerest hope that this first joint preparatory meeting for both of the HLPF and the FFD Forum will provide clear guidance to our preparations for both forums, and I believe you will achieve that. I thank you.
I thank Ambassador Mohammad Tadimov, Vice President of ECOSOC, for his statement. Ladies and gentlemen, for this opening session, we have invited two colleagues for the UN system to provide very important keynote presentations, one from UNDP, the other from UNCTAD. First, I have an honor to invite Mr. Akin Steiner, Administrator of the United Nations Development Program, to offer his presentation. Akin, therefore.
Your Excellency, Mr. Ali Sharif Al-Hemadi, Minister of Finance, His Excellency, the Vice President of ECOSOC, Ambassador Mahmadaninov, my dear colleagues, Liu Jimin and Mukisa Kitui, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, Assalamu alaikum. It is a great honor and pleasure to join you here on the occasion of this conference, together with the State of Qatar and my colleagues in the UN system, in particular the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, on a dialogue that has a long history and perhaps an even more central future to the agenda of sustainable development. Minister, it is also a great pleasure to be back in Doha, which I have watched and seen grow and transform itself over more than a decade, and I must say it probably ranks amongst one of the few capital cities that gets more beautiful as it grows, and that is also a very great achievement. Let me begin by saying that as we meet here, we should remind ourselves of where we were in 2008 when Qatar hosted the Finance for Development Conference. It was at a period, at a moment in time when, in fact, our financial system, our global economy was entering a major crisis phase. We sit today in the year 2017 and we forget too quickly how vulnerable, first of all, our financial system remains. Secondly, how inadequate some of the responses have been in addressing the very drivers of the crisis that threw hundreds of millions of people into a financially very uncertain period and affected economies across the planet. The challenge of financing for development remains central not only to every country's development path and strategy, but also to the role of our international institutions and therefore ultimately our capacity to act collectively. Financing also emerged as a central theme in the year 2015 when the world united and adopted Agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to plead with you that we are almost sometimes in danger of taking this remarkable moment for granted. For the first time in 70 years in the history of international collaboration of the United Nations, we actually arrived at a point where we have a shared sustainable development agenda amongst all nations on earth. This universality is something we should not take for granted. It is unprecedented, and it is critical to being able to appreciate also the opportunities for solving some of the great challenges that lie ahead of us. And the agenda is integrated. We have learned some very bitter lessons that economic growth, GDP growth alone, the notion that economy first, then social and environmental issues second or third, ultimately cannot succeed. Many nations have paid a very high price for overlooking the number of people who felt excluded or who were, in fact, excluded. And let us also face the fact that in a world where 1% of the world's population owns half of the world's wealth, and the other 50%, the other half, the other 99%, excuse me, the other half, does not take much imagination to begin to appreciate that this is not a viable long-term strategy in terms of harmonious societies. Finance for development remains central to realizing the agenda, and international public finance and cooperation critical catalysts, as my colleague Liu Jimin just pointed out. And this is also one of the responsibilities of the United Nations, to remind nations that international public finance and development cooperation are commitments that are both to be honored and also to be recognized for their centrality in helping poorer nations to be able to move from their current economic trajectory to a much more ambitious one. But it is also clear, and especially after 2008 and in recent years, when we look at the extraordinary transformation and transformations that our economies have to pass through, that public finance alone, that does not manage to align the financial markets and systems with national development objectives, is literally doomed to fail. I arrived last night from the Bonn Climate Conference, which has been a remarkable fortnight hosted by the presidency of Fiji in the city of Bonn, and to see virtually every nation on this planet focused on how to make this transition towards a low-carbon economy feasible, not just for some, but actually for all nations, is just one illustration of the enormous amount of capital and technology that needs to be redeployed. And herein lies the challenge of finance for development as well. Can we align the financial markets and systems, the 115 trillion in assets under management today, with the kind of development objectives that Agenda 2030, the Paris Agreement, or many national development plans have outlined? The truth is, there are significant failures in markets, in alignments, and also in effectiveness of public policy in creating the incentives that will draw and incentivize what is, in most countries, by far the greatest financial resource for development, namely funds beyond the public sector. We have to recognize that in order to achieve that, significant changes need to occur. We need to learn to appreciate how that alignment or market failure can be addressed, not in a distorting manner, because it is not a matter of undermining the dynamics of entrepreneurship and financial markets, but it is also to recognize that if the vast majority of the financial resources are focused on investing in technologies, infrastructure, development pathways of the past, then certainly the aspirations of the Sustainable Development Goals, national development plans, are unlikely to succeed. That alignment, therefore, takes a center stage also in the discussion about financing for development. But I emphasize, alongside the vital role that international public finance will continue to play. I think it is also very timely that we meet here in Qatar in the year 2017 as we evolve that agenda, both as a nation, but also as a partner in the international community. Qatar itself is searching and experimenting with new approaches, just like we in the United Nations, whether through UNCTAD, DESA, UNDP, and many of our sister agencies, are every day a resource to nations across the world in learning from one another. Just in the field of renewable energy, we have drawn from expertise and experiences literally from north, south, east to west. The initial approaches to triggering renewable energy markets with feed-in tariffs later were overtaken by the pioneering work in Brazil, in South Africa, with auctions and bringing down the price. And indeed, it is now in this region here that we see some of the most remarkable changes in the markets for renewable energy technology. And on the back of it, a phenomenal growth in investment. Last year, over $300 billion worldwide invested in new renewable electricity generating infrastructure. That is more than 50% of the total new capacity added worldwide. Let me end by saying that in the United Nations as a whole, but also in the institution that I have the privilege to lead since about 4 months, the United Nations Development Programme, we are engaged across the world in trying to address this challenge of development finance, helping countries to look at their domestic financial markets and development policy alignments, looking at the possibility of mobilizing and attracting private sector investment. And it does not always mean foreign direct investment. In fact, in many nations, domestic financial resources, in banks, in funds, in pension funds, are not even being used and leveraged to invest in national development. There are policies and lessons that we have learned across the world that we are sharing with national governments in order to address this. Just like impact finance, a rapidly emerging sector worth hundreds of billions of dollars already, where people, and this is one of the phenomena of our time, have a great deal of money that they wish to invest but cannot find the right destination to invest in. And on the other side, we know that in the least developed countries and in many countries across the world, also middle-income countries, There are many looking for investment funds in development who cannot find the investors. This is what the conversation about financing for development must focus on. And this is where we in UNDP, with our support infrastructure across 170 countries, view ourselves as one key partner in trying to accelerate the kinds of changes and the realization of opportunities that are necessary. And that includes also Islamic finance. In fact, the United Nations Development Programme and the Islamic Development Bank have initiated a program on global Islamic finance and impact investing platforms, trying to understand how commercial Islamic finance industry players who today will probably amount to over $3 trillion, and by 2021, $3.5 trillion, represent a major opportunity, another frontier for leveraging finance. Let me end by thanking the State of Qatar and my colleagues in DESA once more for bringing us together here in Doha and for trying to address an issue that is not only central but in fact a precondition for realizing some of the most fundamentally important objectives that we have defined as a community of nations through the United Nations in recent years. And as the Minister of Finance, Mr. Al-Ahmadi, just said, at the end of the day, finance and development are also the foundation upon which we can build societies that do not allow marginalization, poverty, and the feeling of being left behind create the conditions under which disappointment, frustration, political tensions, extremism can thrive. Financing for development is about ensuring that development can help our societies move forward together. And that is our commitment as partners in the United Nations system as much as with US member states. Thank you very much.
I thank Mr. Steiner, Administrator of UNDP, for his presentation. Dear colleagues, next, may I have the honor to invite Mr. Kitui, Secretary General of UNCTAD, to offer his presentation. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Excellency, Ali Mahdi, the Minister of Finance of the State of Qatar, the Excellency Magdalene Nonov, Permanent Representative and Vice President of the ECOSOC, my colleagues, Shemin Liu and Akam Steiner, colleagues from the UN family, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. May I, on behalf of UNCTAD, also express my appreciation to the government of the State of Qatar for continuing to show its leadership on international finance discourse and for its partnership with the FFD office of UNDESA in this pathfinding initiative on dialoguing to develop a sense of consensus on key issues to feed into the two processes of the Financing for Development Forum and the High-Level Political Forum on SDGs for 2018. It's already been mentioned very clearly the historical leadership role that this state has played in the international finance dialogue, the halfway point between Monterrey and Addis Ababa has been mentioned. Your name has become a verb in international trade discourse because of Doha 2002. And for us at UNCTAD, we also remember that the debate on the appropriate role of financing in development globalization was not uncontroversially the defining debate of UNCTAD 13 a short 5 years ago in this beautiful city. Today, you mark the first initiative ever of a combined high-level event outside the UN offices to prepare both for the FFD forum and HLPF session at the General Assembly. And I want to thank you very much for this leadership. As we meet here today, the spirit of optimism of the triple promise of planet, society, and profit is confronting some headwinds. We see a crisis threatening multilateralism and the solidarity that international cooperation on climate, trade, and finance are so dependent upon. We see the resurgence of a view of globalization, focusing not on development-oriented trade and partnerships, but on mercantile self-interest and declining trust in multilateral solutions and institutions. We are witnessing the erosion of the enabling environment for stronger demand and global trade and financial recovery. Similarly, the rise of populist mindset in politics and the return to zero-sum games and mercantilist thinking of international trade are reversals to the very spirit that we celebrated in 2015 on the triple promise of Agenda 2030. But notwithstanding these headwinds, we also see optimism in the air. We're seeing the holistic financing roadmap developed in Addis Ababa gaining traction with major players, both public and private, and multilateral institutions within the UN family, World Bank and IMF. The intensification of pragmatic regional integration, the rise of new financing institutions and initiatives like the New Development Bank and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank are pointers to an engagement to deal with the challenges of financing the gap identified particularly in infrastructure. We're seeing the emergence of triangular and South-South cooperation, the China Belt and Road Initiative, the triangular initiative between Japan, India, and Africa are just examples of a new engagement that stems any erosion in the multilateral solidarity that underpins our ambitions of Agenda 2030. But still, we must find solutions about how to make our actions deliver results. One of the areas is how to optimize a genuine sustainable partnership between multilateral institutions, governments, and the private sector. How to find common solutions to challenges identified in the context of the corporate sector. Indeed, the role of multinational enterprises is a pillar of the ambitions of Addis Ababa. But this is also a challenge because governments and UN institutions have not adequately found how to address the concerns of converting positive programs into bankable projects, for example, that is so important to the private sector. Key steps require our concerted effort. Attention has to be given to the constant challenge of how do we de-risk investments, particularly into the vulnerable economies, which are the ones farthest for realizing the agenda that we are aspiring to. How do we find smart partnerships that can unlock the coffers of sovereign funds and pension funds? How can we assist the most vulnerable countries to convert their aspirations into bankable projects? How can we transfer lessons learned in the most sustainable forms of private-public partnerships? These are questions whose answers coming from fora like this will be critically important in forming the momentum of realizing our shared agenda. Just this past week, in Geneva, UNCTAD convened its first intergovernmental expert group on financing for development, which it's my aspiration and our expectation that will be, like other initiatives like this, making a contribution to feed into the substantive discussions that are held in the LFFD and HLPF process in New York. At our meeting last week, there were very concrete proposals that were made. For example, on countering illicit financial flows that allow private actors to evade, to avoid, to subvert taxation, a matter that has come particularly to light since the recent publication of the Paradise Papers. There was also a substantial call for better blended finance tools to mobilize private capital for long-term productive investment in developing countries. We are very, very grateful that we are walking this path together with the UNDESA, the convener of this process and the coordinator of how much we can feed these impulses into an actionable agenda around the next summer. The question has been asked on how can reach the farthest behind first as a way of leaving no one behind. One of the contributions I'd like to make in a concrete way is on dealing with the questions of SDG goal number 7, energy, access to energy. On the matters of energy, the farthest from target are the least developed countries. On Wednesday next week, I'll be launching in Bangkok our least developed country report, which this year focuses on energy for transformation in LDCs. While many LDCs have made strides in increasing energy access to their population, the emphasis on access alone has held back sustainability. The challenge is how to turn energy access into a transformational asset, particularly in the productive sector, in building productive capacity for LDCs. And we're quantifying the challenge, which is minuscule compared with the substantial alternative challenges of financing the SDG agenda. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we at UNCTAD want to add our voices to the fact that notwithstanding how daunting some of the challenges may look, collective political will, concrete improvements, lessons learned, transferred into this process are going to stem the skepticism and regain the momentum with the ambitious triple agenda of Agenda 2030. As Akram just mentioned last week at the COP23 in Bonn, Sustainable Stock Exchange Initiative, for example, which brings together 65 major exchanges representing about 3/4 of global capital markets, launched a new initiative, an approach on how to mobilize stock markets to grow green financing. This is one contribution that may address some of the challenges of the gap that's identified. Most importantly, I want to restate our commitment and our encouragement that the pursuit of global ambitions that we seek and the renewed multilateralism that we need can be informed by concrete suggestions by experts like Your Excellencies in a way that enriches our actions to realize the dreams of 2015. Thank you for your kind attention.
I thank Dr. Kitui, Secretary General of UNCTAD, for his presentation. Dear colleagues, I think at this opening session, we have heard the statements by Minister of Finance for the State of Qatar and the Vice President for ECOSOC. And we have received two important presentations from the Administrator of UNDP and the Secretary General of UNCTAD. Dear colleagues, this conference has been designed to do a fruitful discussion on two themes. One is the financing for development. The other one is the means for the implementation of 2030 agenda. As the Secretary General of UNCTAD has mentioned, this is the first time for UN we have such discussions outside UN headquarters. This is a brainstorming conference. We're not going to negotiate anything, but I think we need to, through our brainstorming discussion, we need to draw some of the conclusions and messages that to try to make good contribution to the forthcoming Finance for Development Forum and High Political Forum that will convene next year. So I shall encourage you to really have a more open mandate in your discussions to see that how we could bring up the very innovative ideas for finance for development and for the implementation of our 2030 agenda. I shall encourage you to have a very fruitful discussion in the morning, in today at the two ministerial roundtables and those breakout sessions tomorrow. So once again, I'd like to thank our host, the government state of Qatar, for their generous hosting and hospitality extended to all the participants. Especially, I want to thank the Minister of His Excellency, the Minister of Finance, for his participation in this opening session. Minister, I thank you once again.
Thank you.
So this opening session adjourned until 10:30. We should have a tea break until 11:30. Then we should resume at the ministerial roundtable in this room. So please enjoy your tea break and come back to the first ministerial roundtable sharply. Thank you. The meeting adjourned.
Wish you all the best.